peeps? Let me just get some things set up here. Everything is good. Michele Smith, it's awesome to have you. Today, what we're doing is we're going to be doing a live little training workshop. And I have a really good friend of mine, Michele Smith. And I know a lot of you are like, man, I work with a lot of clients that like to lose body fat. And I know how to train them well. And I have clients that they want to put on muscle, they want to tone up. But what about those clients that are going through that dreaded hormonal decline? And that's why I have Michele with me. So let me actually start the recording here. So Michele, thank you so much for being on here today. Michele Smith is my special guest, and she's an anti-aging specialist. And Michelle's been in the game a long time, and she's really, really good at what she does. Michele, thank you so much for being here. And obviously, we're going to be streaming to some people, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be kind of interested for what do you do differently when you have a client, and this is for personal trainers and fitness coaches and so forth, and nutrition coaches that have a client that are going through that hormonal decline, right? Before we get into that, I want you to stay tuned. I want to know a little bit about why you got started working as a trainer and fitness coach and when this all took place for you, to kind of give everybody a little background before we dive into the main training.
Okay, thanks. First of all, thank you so much for having me, and it's so good to see you again. It's been a while. But the reason why I got into training is because I was a model I started when I was 17 years old. But by the time that I was in my 20s, I was getting too old for it, and I didn't have a formal education. So I decided if I start training and get my body in really good shape, I could do this a little longer.
Yeah.
And it worked. So I trained for a couple of years, and I was looking better, but didn't make that much of a change until I hired a nutritionist. And that made a huge change on my body. However, as I continued to work in my 40s, I realized that I was looking better and better and better than when I was younger. So I thought, I have the holy grail of helping women to stay fit and shape as they get older. And that's pretty much how it started.
Okay. And so you were in your 20s and already you were getting like kicked out of the modeling scene, been in your 20s? Is it really a young game?
Back then, when you were 25 or 30, you were done.
Wow.
But I never was a top model, first of all, but I was a working model nonetheless. But, I was in, your body starts declining in your late 30s and 20s. I mean, people don't realize that. It doesn't start when you're 50.
Yeah.
So I started seeing the little changes that was happening to my body. So I figure if I work out, I'm going to look as good or even better than the younger girls.
Yeah.
So it did.
Yeah.
It absolutely did. So especially in the 80s, people were not working out much. So I was standing out from the crowd because my body was fit. Nobody else was fit, just skinny. So I went up modeling until I was in my 50s, on and off. But it did what I was intending to do.
And you also competed. I mean, you turned pro in a natural federation for competition. You did like bikini competitions and things as well. Like you took it to a very high level, right?
Well, I was so excited about how my body was looking, and I figured I could just do better and better and better. So I started competing as a figure competitor, not bikini.
Okay.
And I started in the natural organization. And by that point, I think I started in 2000 in my 40s. Yeah, about my 40s. By the time I became a pro, I was 52 years old.
Wow.
And at the time, I was the oldest female figure competitor that got a pro card at that age. So I was very excited about that. Then I moved to NPC in order for me, because it's more competitive and there are more girls. And I worked there for another, 5 years. Then I retired.
Yeah, I mean, I did competition too. It's a hard game. I competed from 2002 to 2017, turned pro finally in 2015, but completely get you. So let's switch gears, and I want to kind of know like what your inspiration was. Did you have, like an inspiring, like an actor, a model, somebody that you looked up to that kind of really got you into, strength training, when you were younger, and then Did it change as you got older? Like now that you're, more mature, do you have like a different type of kind of like, I look forward to this person?
Well, my inspiration back then was Rachel McLeish.
Yes.
She
Yep.
was the bodybuilder from the 1980s,
Yep.
and there were very few bodybuilders at the time. But she became so successful that she was making commercials on television. I mean, there was this muscular woman, although she was not huge because back then the bodybuilders were not very big.
Yeah.
But I decided that I was going to look like her.
Yeah. I
In
remember
fact,
Rachel too.
in
Yeah.
fact, we're kind of friends now on Facebook because we found each other, and I told her that she was Spanish. So we communicate with each other a lot of times, which she's a very nice person.
Yeah,
But
she's
yeah,
super
she
pretty
was,
too. Yeah, I remember her from back in the 80s because I got my inspiration too. I used to read all the Muscle and Fitness and, all those magazines. And I always told myself, hey, I can't wait to be, on a cover of one of those magazines. It was kind of like my goal. And then made
you
the
did it.
goal. So never stop giving up. Awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Mine was Lou Ferrigno with The Incredible Hulk when I was a kid growing up. Now I look up to The Rock because that guy is older and he is freaking in shape and he's doing
See how
things.
things have changed. Oh yes.
Yeah.
But
And
she was my inspiration, but I
yeah.
continue now. Who is my inspiration today? Myself. And
That's
the
awesome.
only reason why I'm saying that is because I'm always changing in my mind how I want to look.
Yeah.
I don't want to be extremely muscular. I don't want to be skinny, like skinny girl, but I'm always looking for that face, that body that I'm going to be happy with or excited with. I'm very happy with my body, but it just changed my inspiration and changed my mindset about how I want to look.
Nice.
So I'm always looking for that.
And Michelle, I want to let everybody know how we know each other too, because
Absolutely.
yeah. Why don't you let everybody know? Like how do we know each other, Michelle?
Well, I was so lucky to find you. I think there was this guy called named Patrick, I think it was, that he was interviewing people who were looking to do systems and improve their business. And I wound up working with you for about over 6 months, right? About 7, 8 months, which is one of the best things that I have done for my business, I have to tell you.
Thank you.
Because you are very dedicated to your business. You give it all to us. And it was very, very beneficial to me and my business when we work together.
Appreciate it. Yeah, Michelle joined the Elite Level Coaches program. I have TNT Fit Pro Coaching. Obviously, see the light back there, my business name, and she was one of my favorite clients. And I love working with Michelle. She's awesome. I love seeing her transformation of her business. So now I want to kind of really switch gears into what the topic is for today. So today we're going to be really discussing hormonal decline and the differences as a trainer. And there's going to be non-trainers in here that are watching this too. But as a personal trainer, as a fitness coach, you know that you can't train and do everything the same for somebody that is going through the hormonal decline. So if you can start off kind of breaking it down, first of all, what is hormonal decline? And what are the hormones that are affected with hormonal decline? Just to give everybody like an overview, kind of clarity on that.
Yes, I mean, as we age, we lose 2 hormones, which is FSH and LH. And what happens that it interferes with testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. So that's what becomes your hormone starts declining, which significantly affects your health as you get older. So you end up with belly fat, loss of libido, mental fog, you lose your hair, your nails get thin, all kinds of symptoms. I think there are 35 of them that you get from hormone declines. Now, you don't necessarily need to have hormone therapy for that if you don't want to. Some women don't want to do that, but you have to change your diet and you have to start strength training because you lose bone mass as well as you lose muscle mass as you get older. You end up with sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle mass. And you don't want to do that because from 30 years old on, you lose 1%. By the time you're 60 or 70, you're losing 15% of loss of muscle mass. Wow. So you really have to work hard to maintain that muscle or to gain some muscle at that point. Yeah. So a lot of women, what they do is they start training with 5-pound dumbbells. And I understand if you don't have the strength to do it, by all means, you should start with very lightweight. But the goal should be to increase your weight to get stronger and reverse the sarcopenia. So you could start getting muscle mass as well as bone mass. So you don't end up with osteoporosis.
Yeah.
And that's what the difference of training it is. The tempo of the training should be a lot slower because it affects your joints. If you start banging weights like when you were younger, not a good idea. And train your whole body because of the bone loss. Not so much for the aesthetics of muscle mass, but because of the bone loss. You don't have, some people get bone loss in the lower part of the body, some people in the upper part, or maybe the extremities. So it's better to train your whole body rather than going, and I mean in a split form. I think split it is much better than doing the whole body, which doesn't really affect some muscles when you do that.
Okay, and a quick question too, Michele, because I know that as we age, we lose muscle mass. And I know some of that is going to be due to the hormones. And obviously,
it's sarcopenia. Because sarcopenia is what you end up with sarcopenia as you get older, and that's what helps you, makes you lose muscle mass.
Yeah. But as people get older, what they can do to combat that is obviously the strength training to maintain or increase that muscle mass, because your metabolism naturally is tied in partial to the amount of muscle that you have.
Absolutely.
So if you lose muscle mass, then naturally that muscle that normally burns those extra calories off per day isn't there. So even if you eat the same amount of calories, now you gain more fat just because you don't have that muscle burning off those calories in there. So it's a combination of the hormones that also throw in there, and then also the lack of muscle. So both of those combined can cause like a detriment. That's why some people like literally have all these problems with, like, now they have all these body fat deposits in all these areas that they never really had before. So what would be your best plan of action to somebody who is going through this for the very first time? Like, what's the first few steps that they should do, like X, Y, and Z?
Well, just to end with what you were saying before, we also end up with insulin resistance. In addition to, your metabolism slowing down, and that's what other fat gain happens. And as you know, you gain belly fat and other parts of your body. The first thing to do is to change your diet. Number one.
So what exactly should they change?
Women, for the most part, don't eat enough food.
Okay.
And if you don't eat enough food, you're not going to gain muscle mass, and your metabolism will not increase. You're going to stay stable, because you're not putting enough energy into your system. So changing your diet is the very first thing to do. And that includes having 4 to 5 meals a day, 1,500 calories, depending on your metabolism. I have clients that are 62 and have like over 3,000 calories because their metabolism is great. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And they're not gaining a bunch of body fat at 3,000 calories?
No.
That's crazy.
I know, especially at that age. But everybody's metabolism is different. Like me, per se, I can consume a lot of carbs. Some people, you have to cycle it and, give them lower carbs. So maybe steady, but lower carbs. But you should never get rid of carbs, because that's going to help you give you energy and also, get your muscle mass going on. So that's number one. But I recommend specifically whole foods, because once you start introducing processed foods, because when you were younger, we're able to sustain that without any problems. As you get older, it's not the same animal anymore. You have to stop with the processed food. That doesn't mean that you can have some pasta and some bread, but on a regular basis, if you consume whole foods, your body absorbs more the nutrients of that food and convert it into muscle when you train, as opposed to processed food that is going to give you a lot of inflammation.
And that goes for protein shakes too, because obviously if you can't get enough protein from food, and I'm sure you're going to touch up on protein here in a second, but if you can't get enough protein from food, protein shakes are going to be great. But if you get your protein from whole food, it breaks down and it actually causes the metabolism to elevate more because it has a higher, what's called a thermic effect to break down the food. So if you think of it as like ice, right? It's harder to get the ice to melt and assimilate the water than if it's in a whole form. Than if it's just like water that can, be quickly absorbed into the body. The body breaks it down faster. It's the same thing with food. If it takes more to like literally break it down, it's gonna take calories and able to do that. So what about protein intake? Where would you say, do they need to increase it, decrease it? Where should they be if they're going through this?
Well, it depends what your goals are, with the training and how much you weight. Somebody who's very small requires a lot less protein than somebody who's, 5'10", for instance. So, but your protein should be at least 30 grams of 30 grams per meal.
Okay, 30 grams per meal,
30
4 to
grams
5
per meal
times a
on
day.
average. Yeah, 4 to 5, again, depending on the goals.
Okay.
And if somebody is not used to eating a lot of meals, what I do, because a lot of women that hire me, they don't even have breakfast in the morning. And that's very tough because you should eat before you train, because that's what's going to give you the energy that's going to help you build the muscle, as well as the nutrition meal for that, because that's going to help you recover and build muscle.
Yeah.
So what I do, I introduce the food in a very slow manner. So if they don't have breakfast, they only have like 2 meals a day, I have to cut it down in half until they get used to it, until your metabolism catches up with you.
Yeah. Nice.
Because it's not going to happen overnight. You have to give it some time for that. But it's a process. It's definitely a process to do that.
Okay. And then carbs are going to be obviously dependent upon, activity level, metabolism. There's a lot of factors that go inside that. And then what about fats? Because I know fats are going to absorb a lot of the fat soluble vitamins. Is there any adjustments in fat intake once somebody goes through the hormone declines? Because I know hormones are reliant on fat. So I'll let you kind of kick it.
Yes, fat is definitely higher than the average person when you're in hormone decline, because it's going to protect your hormones as well. So, and your body's going to need it. So that means you have to lower the carbs a little bit. Again, depending on the individual. Some people, you don't have to do that. Yeah. But what I often do is I lower the carbs a little bit and then increase the fat slightly as well.
Nice. Okay.
And keep it balanced too. And I give them fat almost on all meals, healthy fats.
Okay. And so somebody's going through this hormone decline. How should they know if they should get hormonal therapy or if they should not get hormonal therapy? And then once we go into that, I want to tackle what are the different types? But I'll let you go in there.
It's up to the individual. A lot of women are very afraid to get HRT. They think it's going to give them cancer, which can, but anything can anyway. If the individual decides to do that, my recommendation is, and also depends how they feel, because sometimes they have incredibly bad symptoms of, hormone decline. Some people, they don't even feel that much. In that case, that they think that they're okay, they don't need it. But your quality of life improves when you do go into HRT, because your hormones are more balanced, you have more energy, and you feel better. You don't have the mental fog, even if you didn't gain a lot of weight. I never gained a lot of weight, but I was feeling really, really lethargic and achy, my joints. It wasn't good until I started my HRT. Now, there are two different hormone therapy. One is synthetics, which is pretty much cookie cutter. The doctor might give you a dose. Oftentimes, they want to give you maybe estrogen alone, which I don't believe in. I think all your hormones should be balanced because they're all depleted. Maybe in some cases, you may not need so much estrogen, or maybe you don't need so much progesterone, but they should all be included. The second hormone is bioidentical hormone therapy, which is made out of natural products, but is compounded in a pharmacy. It's still a prescription, but it's in a pharmacy, and it's more precise of your hormone levels as to when you were younger. It mimics the same level, so you feel a lot better than when you're taking synthetic hormone therapy.
What about growth hormone? Does that play a role in here or not at all?
You could take growth hormones. I mean, if the person can afford it, and if it's depending on the blood work too, because that's the best thing is to get a blood work. And if you see that all the hormones, including that, is low, you could get therapy for that as well. But the problem is finding a doctor that is well-versed on hormone therapy. Because I just got a new client and she went to see a doctor, and the doctor only prescribed her estrogen without giving her a blood work. So she was just guessing just to give her some estrogen. And I was horrified by that, because you could get terrible symptoms from that.
Oh, they didn't do like the doctor didn't
of
give
blood
the
work.
person get their blood work and
No.
like, oh my gosh. Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why I offer um to oversee the hormones levels and the protocols and doses on my clients, because oftentimes the doctors miss the mark by giving the prescription, and they don't give them, they also neglect giving testosterone, which we need. We don't need as much as the men, obviously,
Yeah.
but some women lose the libido completely and they have vaginal pain when they have sex, and that's due to all the hormones missing. So they don't take a look at that, and they miss the mark, unfortunately.
Okay. So, like by balancing the hormones, they get the libido back. It can help them
Yes,
reduce the body fat again. They can have more
yes,
energy. They can probably sleep better. They
yes,
won't get the hot sweats as much and those
yes,
kind of things in there too. So
all
there's
of
a
it.
ton of different
Yes.
side effects that can
And they
accompany.
feel great too.
Yeah.
They feel like when you were younger, because as you get older, you lose energy,
Yeah. Yep.
But when you are on hormone therapy, you get all your energy back.
That makes sense. And then does that also relate into strength training? I know you said as you go through hormonal decline, you want to slow down your rep speed. For somebody who's already, let's go over two scenarios. So
Yeah.
one is a woman who's already been working out and one who hasn't been working out. Obviously, one who hasn't been working out, they're going to start off slow and those kind of things. If
Yes.
somebody has been working out, should they like kind of chill, take it a little bit easier? Are they full-fledged to continue to like do progressions and really push themselves, or should they watch anything? Like, what would be the difference that somebody
No,
should take?
definitely do progression. But what I do is after a few months, I give them a workout that is maybe 15 reps, lighter weights, or give them a deload, so the body rests for a bit.
Okay.
But I believe in always increased and make progress in your body. Otherwise, you digress, you regress if you
Okay.
don't make progress.
Yeah.
So, and
What
if you
about
start,
adrenal fatigue? Is that a part of this or no?
well, some people do have it.
Okay.
I have a client who has adrenal fatigue. That's a different story, but she can still work out.
Yeah.
She just have to manage her hormones for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So though the hormonal decline can affect
Adrenal fatigue. There are
adrenal gland.
some people who suffer from adrenal fatigue, because I never had that. And
Yeah.
most of my clients don't have it, but I do have one client who has adrenal fatigue.
Okay. And I know some people, if they have too much like caffeine and all those kind of things over time,
Oh,
especially,
no,
they
yes.
need more and more in all those
That's
things.
another
Should
thing.
they watch caffeine at all?
I
Like,
was just going to say that too
okay.
much stimulant is not good for women. I mean, when you age, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you can have a cup of coffee, but excessive coffee is not going to help you with your
Okay.
hormones.
So if they're trying to fix the low energy that they're having from the low
It's going to
hormones,
get
and then
worse.
they're pounding more caffeine, so that could actually have a detrimental effect where,
Absolutely. Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
It's going to
So,
backfire on you as you go along. It's going to get worse.
okay. And what about cardio? Any changes in cardio? Like, what about high intensity interval training, low intensity, like steady state? Is there any adjustments someone should make, or what would you recommend for somebody?
I prefer HIIT, but
Okay.
it depends on the individual also. There are
Okay.
women that I don't prescribe any cardio at all because they don't need to. They don't need to lose any weight.
Okay.
And if you work intensely enough, you get your cardio while you're lifting weights, which is what I personally do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't typically do cardio, but I work hard enough to increase my heart rate.
Yeah.
So that should be enough. Unless the person is overweight and he needs to lose a significant amount of weight, then of course I prescribe some cardio, maybe three times a week, not excessive either.
Okay. And what
Because then
about,
you're going to counteract, when you're building muscle and then you burn it off by doing excessive cardio.
yeah, too much cardio. So make sure you have enough protein intake. Make sure you're doing your strength training so you don't have the muscle mass loss,
Right.
or you minimize the loss and try to maintain or increase that. What
Increase.
about rest?
Oh, that's extremely important.
Okay.
You have to rest a little longer than typically when you're working out as an older person. And
Okay.
also you need more sleep. So
Really? Okay.
it's imperative that you get, well, everybody's different. Some people don't need that much, but at least 8 hours sleep will be very beneficial when you're older, because your body's going to get very beat up when you train.
Okay. So
You
all
know,
the things it's like a longer recovery process when the
yeah,
hormones start going down. So
yeah,
like if your body normally responds in 48 hours when you're young, it may take
takes
72 or
longer.
even longer,
Yeah.
before you should train each body part. So should they kind of maybe space out the body parts that they train a little bit more like when they
Again,
go
it,
through it?
it depends on the person. Some
Okay.
people like me, I train 5 days a week and I
Hmm.
train legs 3 times a week, which is a lot.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because you're a beast.
I'm constantly like, I need a little more time to recover from my leg workout, but I still can do it.
Okay.
Some people cannot. So whenever I design a program for a person, for a client, it has to be specific for their goals and their needs and how they train, how strong they are, if they have any injuries. I have to take all of that under consideration.
Okay.
It's not a cookie cutter program.
Gotcha. What about supplements? Because I know
Supplements.
you have your clients go through like a certain supplement regimen. Is there certain ones that you would recommend when someone starts to go through hormonal decline? And then also, is there something different if somebody doesn't want to do the like synthetic hormonal, something that can help out like in a natural supplement line to help balance some of this stuff out?
There are some supplements like DIM who helps with estrogen, but it doesn't really do much by supplements by itself. But I do recommend, even if they don't take hormone therapy, the foundation of supplements like multivitamins, magnesium is very, very important when you're aging. Omega-3 is extremely important when you're aging. D3 because of your bones. And zinc if you train. Those
Okay.
5 are very, very important as a foundation. Then I have other supplements, for aging, which I have to read it because I forget. Um, NAD is an energy source used in every cell in your body. So if you're depleted of NAD, you're going to be really, really fatigued. So it's in your system already. So if you supplement with NAD, it's going to help you a lot. And it's going to help you build muscles too. NMN or nicotinamide mononucleotide, which is the precursor of NAD. If you
Okay.
if you do those two together, it's going to help you and it's going to help with your brain too. Resveratrol, which is everybody knows about that. It's
Resveratrol.
good for your brain and it helps you, for your cells to age slower. It's a lot of work. Also collagen.
Yeah. I
Collagen is
take
very
collagen every
important.
day. Hopefully it starts working in there too. And like the NAD, would that be beneficial for men or is that only for women or?
No, for both.
Okay.
Yeah, I have male clients that I also prescribe NAD. Absolutely.
Okay. And I know this was kind of geared towards, females going through hormonal decline. What about men that are going through hormonal decline? Obviously, the testosterone levels, dip down. They have the same kind of thing. They start getting the excess belly fat. They have less sex drive. You can always see them in the gym. The older guys that like don't have the same kind of like,
It changes.
umph in hormone. They're slouched down and they're sitting on the in the gym and like just looking on equipment, just kind of looking around with no energy. And then you see the younger guys and all have their energy and they're like, ah.
Yes.
So,
Well, men go through something called andropause.
okay.
We go through menopause. You guys go through andropause, which is the same thing. You have estrogen, you have progesterone, you have testosterone. But the main hormone in men is testosterone, obviously. But they all deplete. And that's why you start seeing men with man boobs because their testosterone level is really, really, really low.
Okay.
So they also can go through hormone therapy. It's not the same as we do because they could get injections for testosterone. We just get a cream that we rub, because we don't
Okay.
need that much testosterone. So, but if a guy goes through hormone therapy, it's going to change his life. But most guys don't do that.
Okay. So you would recommend a guy, let's just say they're in their 50s or 60s, to definitely like think about getting some, HRT to kind of like restore some of the levels in there too to feel better.
Yeah, there are some celebrities who do that. And,
Oh
I
yeah.
can tell
Yeah.
people like Jeff Bezos, I can see that he's on HRT. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how, he's 60 or something, and he looks like really strong. And yeah, it's HRT. So, and it makes them feel good, not only aesthetically, but mentally, it makes them strong and it has more energy. So I recommend it for men too.
Keeps them sharp and also keep the libido up and all those kind of things
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
which is super important. Maintain the muscle mass so they don't like, wither away, and keep, same kind of thing with the metabolism being related to the amount of muscle that you have on there too. So that is super, super helpful in there. And Michele, is there any other things that you would say, hey, somebody that's going through hormonal decline, this is like something that you need to do or you should do, or, like kind of like some next steps for somebody? Because I know there's plenty of people out there that are like, okay, well, like, what do I do when I first start going through this? What's kind of the first steps you would say?
Well, the first thing is to do is to be patient. This is not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
And find someone who guides you and helps you that is well versed on this topic. Because you cannot take a person who is going through hormone decline and train them and coach them like somebody who's 30. It just doesn't work the same. The muscle increase is going to be very slow. So you have to be very patient to continue to grow and coach them well, because otherwise people will give up. I have a lot of clients who give up because they don't want to do the work. But if you want to feel better and look better and be healthier, I highly recommend it,
Nice.
especially with the strength training.
Yeah, and you're a specialist in this, Michele. So if there is somebody that's out here watching, or other trainers that are, have some information, or if it's, maybe somebody that's starting to go through hormonal decline, like how would they contact you if maybe to get some more, answers, or maybe get some questions, or maybe if they want to work with you to get some treatment, like what would be the best way to contact you?
Well, my email is Michele at foreverfitwithmichele.com, or they can reach out to me through Facebook, which is Michele Smith, anti-aging specialist, or Instagram, which is forever_fit_with_ with Michele.
Nice.
And yes,
Do you have a Facebook group for anybody? Like if it's just based
I
around that?
do. It's called Forever Fit with Michele. Yes.
Perfect with Michele.
I
Okay.
do.
Sounds amazing. Well, Michele, any other like little key ninja hacks that you want to give everybody, or you want to just give them all a peace sign and
Don't drink too much alcohol. It's not going to help.
So you heard it first, you guys. You know the different steps that you need to do if you're going through the hormonal decline. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact Michele on Facebook, on Instagram, anything in there too. If this was helpful, you guys, give me a hashtag helpful down below. If you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay. If you're watching the live stream, give me a hashtag live in there. Michele, I want to thank you so very much. It's been so fun jamming with you today. And I'm sure that we're going to have lots of people sending me lots of questions. So I'll make sure I forward them over to you. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for having me. And it was so great to